It is up, it is back, it is gone, Marge!
See ya! Grand slam!
And it's gone!
Look at this, he got him.
They did it again! Rain reborn! Reigns again!
This portion of Across the Association is brought to you by Rawlings. Rawlings is the official baseball of the American Association. This is Across the Association. What's up, everyone? I'm Alex Bastiavansky. Great to have you on board again for this week's show. And you know, Kevin McGovern is already an absolute legend in the American Association. The Fargo-Moorhead pitcher set the league's all-time strikeout mark last season, broke more records in 2022, and is a huge reason as to why the Red Hawks are once again among the favorites to capture the league title this year. We take a closer look now at the exceptional career of Kevin McGovern.
The Gov has become the king, the American Association's all-time strikeout leader.
What he's done, for his team's championships and all those stats, yes, he's the best pitcher that the AAA has ever seen. Eventually someone else will come along, but right now, Gov is kind of like, he's the gold standard right now.
In the American Association, Kevin McGovern is a living legend.
Swing and a miss, he struck him out. Kevin McGovern has become the American Association's all-time wins leader by himself. It is just Kevin McGovern. He stands alone atop the history books in the American Association.
For McGovern, the road to the American Association began in his home state of Pennsylvania, and it didn't take him long to fall in love with the game he now dominates.
I grew up in North Philly, and my dad was a semi-pro baseball player growing up. He played 3 sports in high school, and baseball was his love, and he was a pitcher. And I had an older brother that basically did the same thing, so I got to grow up watching, my two idols growing up was my brother and my dad. And me being left-handed, they just looked at me as the golden child going, this left arm, this will go pretty far.
And of course, being from North Philly, his whole family were fans of their hometown team.
Well, my dad's favorite pitcher was Steve Carlton, and one of his favorite pitches was a slider, and that's, kind of an ironic thing that ended up happening to me because I didn't throw a slider until college, but once I found that, it was the next stepping point in my career. And but for me growing up as a younger, Philly fan, it was Chase Utley.
Utley rips one into right field at the track, at the wall. It's a good start for the Phillies. 2-0 here in the first.
Just the way that he ran it out, and one of the things that I liked the most was every time he hit a home run, it looked like he was sprinting around the bases. Where, when you do a great thing, you do a great thing for your team, and it's not really that much about you.
That team-first attitude stayed with McGovern all through his baseball career, from Archbishop Ryan High School to Thomas Jefferson University, to his debut in independent ball in the Frontier League in 2012. He came to the AAPB in 2014 with the Lincoln Salt Dogs before being dealt to Winnipeg in 2016.
It was really tough because I started out with Lincoln and I got traded, and I know I got traded for one of the most iconic players in the Winnipeg franchise with Luis Allen, and I knew that was some shoes to fill, and I was really nervous to start out in 2016, and I was probably third or fourth on the depth chart as a pitcher.
And the pitch, swing and a miss. He got him at a changeup. 6 strikeouts for Kevin McGovern. He sets the sign down in order.
But it didn't take long for Goldeyes fans to embrace McGovern as he gained confidence and dominated hitters. After going 8-3 in 2016, the next year he was a masterful 13-3 with a minuscule 2.56 ERA.
Another 2-2 pitch, swing and a miss. He struck him out in a changeup. Kevin McGovern with his 11th strikeout of the night.
Helping to lead the Goldeyes to back-to-back league championships in the process.
Had a lot of amazing guys in the bullpen and a lot of lifelong friends that I made from that team, and that was the most fun because we went from just making the playoffs to being the #1 seed and winning out again. And I really appreciate those guys on the team that knew that I was trying to figure it out, and I basically grew into the pitcher I was from those 2 years.
After 4 seasons with the Goldeyes, the organization was looking to make changes during the COVID-shortened 2020 campaign. Fargo Moorhead jumped at the opportunity to sign the ace.
Fargo was the first team that was going to be like, we're going to immediately take him just out of, my credentials in the league. And the second I got here was a really uncomfortable circumstance that immediately was wiped away with Chris Coast being the manager and an amazing 2020 year. And guys like Drew Ward being on the team, he was a huge part of it for me. And, it made the transition to becoming, a Fargo Moorhead Red Hawk a lot easier. It's a really comfortable organization. It's one of those things where when you walk into the locker room, you're completely welcome. There's not a lot of stress that's put on you. There's expectations, and you're supposed to meet them, but you're treated like a professional, and that's something that we take pride in.
After years of being victimized by McGovern, the Redhawks were all too happy to have him pitching for them instead of against them.
When I first saw Gov pitch, of course he was in Winnipeg, so there wasn't a lot of positive thoughts at the time, but it was the first thing that I thought of was ace. This guy's an ace. Obviously the track record, the winning.
Going up against him, being kind of the hitting coach that gives a scouting report, it was always one of the more daunting days in terms of facing Kevin McGovern, because it's one thing to be good, but when everybody on the other side knows what you have and he can still go out there and do it. I mean, I sent the same report every single day, and it just felt like after 7 innings, we were down 2-0. We had 3 hits, and he had 10 strikeouts. Speaks to how good he actually is.
The first time I saw him pitch was in 2019. I was in Kansas City, and I'm pretty sure I faced him, and I'm pretty sure I struck out. But I also got to face him in 20 and last year, and he was just dominant. I've always been dominant. It's crazy how it's basically a 2-pitch mix and then a changeup to show, and it's very dominant every time he goes out.
Swing and a miss. He struck him out.
And as a Red Hawk, McGovern has been virtually unhittable at times. Over the past 2 seasons, he's been one of the top pitchers in the American Association.
He's got, 3 pitches. Really, it's like sinker, slider, changeup. Slider being his out pitch that everybody is prepared for, and they still can't hit it. And you don't see that a lot of times in baseball, where guys have 1 pitch and the other team knows about it, and he's still able to get poor contact, swings and misses. So it's kind of a smaller arsenal in terms of pitching, but his command, he throws a ton of strikes, doesn't walk guys.
1-2 pitch, a breaking pitch. He got him. Swing and a miss. He struck him out. And the Gov working the K's today.
He has a repertoire to get hitters out, and that's that may be pretty simple, but as a pitcher, you want your pitchers to be able to get hitters out consistently, to battle through adversity. I think that's a really big thing for Gov, is he kind of leads by example. Like every pitcher, no matter how good you are, you're gonna have moments where there's a bases loaded, nobody out. Can you give up 1 run? Can you give up no runs rather than 4 or 5? And Gov is as good as we've ever seen at minimizing the damage and battle through adversity. But really that slider is the single biggest reason why he can strike guys out. But I also think this year, working with Christian Correa, Gov will tell you that, to change things up a little bit, throw fastballs in for strikes. So instead of always having to go to the slider, beat a right-handed hitter inside for a called strike 3.
It's really easy because I got a guy like Christian Correa. The Red Hawks went out and found a guy that absolutely knows how to run a pitching staff. Yeah, he calls a better game than I do. That's just hands down, and that's something that we laugh about all the time. And he certainly works a lot harder. It's an unbelievably demanding job to be a catcher, and it's even more demanding to have that mindset to know exactly what this pitcher should throw against this hitter in this count.
As a diehard Phillies fan growing up, McGovern now finds himself being managed by one of his idols, former Philadelphia Philly Chris Coast, who had his own unique journey to Major League Baseball. Coast didn't make it to the bigs until he was 33 years old.
It was a nice inspiration for a guy like me that was playing indie ball 26, 27, 28 years old. One of the things that Chris would say to me all the time is, how old are you now? It's 33, you're in your prime. And that's something that was a surreal moment and really special, and it's really fun to get to know him and how similar he is to guys that I looked up to, and he was a really fun part of the transition to Fargo, and he's one of the big reasons why I'm still here.
Oh yeah, if you're in the stands and you're sitting behind our dugout and you see us sitting next to each other, we might be talking about, Davis Feldman pitching, we might be talking about the opponent, but there's also a chance we're talking about the Phillies, whether it's 2008 or even 2009 coming up short. But I didn't know until we got him in 2020 that he even knew who I was, number one, and number two, I knew he was from Philadelphia because I saw the roster, but that can mean anything. So pretty awesome, the stories that I can share with him, and we can talk about him being a Phillies fan and things like that.
Okay, so all strikeouts in the what?
In the dirt. Put it in the dirt.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
He just beat himself on that one.
As long as he's keeping them in singles, it's fine.
Great adjustment. I can see what he's trying to do with that.
I know.
McGovern's pedigree and the way he gets along with his teammates makes him one of the Red Hawks' leaders, and he plays a big part in helping to instruct younger pitchers on the squad.
It's like when he's out there on his non-start days, whether it's the running or the weighted balls or just giving little piece of advice to his teammates and fellow pitchers, he has such a... everything he does rubs off on his teammates in a positive way.
I'd rather be under the radar as much as I can as I'm talking to a camera, but I'd rather be under the radar in terms of how much I'm hands-on with these guys, and I'd rather just lead by example and let these guys become the pitchers that they are. Ben, how many pitches? This inning, sorry. Oh, who cares? I don't care anymore. And I'm willing to listen to everyone's advice. Maybe I won't follow it all the way through, but it makes it a lot easier to talk to all of the guys on my team, listening to these guys and their mindsets, and then accepting it immediately, which I think gives them a boost. Where it's like, this is what you want to do, I believe in it, go for it. And that's the thing, is I think all they care about is when I say I believe in it. And it makes them feel a lot better about gripping the baseball and throwing it where they want to.
Kevin McGovern on a start day is completely different from McGovern on any other day. He has his routine, but as a teammate in the clubhouse, laid back guy, really good teammate.
I got a camera on me, everybody be careful. Wake it up, baby! Camera's up!
Last year, two big things were accomplished by McGovern. The first was the American Association all-time strikeout record.
McGovern okays the sign from DK. Now the two-strike pitch. Swing and a miss. He struck him out.
But it didn't come to my attention I was going to break a record until they made the announcement in the 9th inning after the strikeout happened.
And there it is, number 702. The Gov has become the king.
Everyone else knew it except for me. And that was one of those things where it hit me completely by surprise. I'm sure on the video you'll see my face go, what's happening? Because I had 2 outs left. I'm exhausted after 100 pitches, but only about 1 or 2 games a year, my dad and my brother get to come out, and they were there for that game, and it was a really special moment.
The American Association's all-time strikeout leader, Kevin McGovern, 702 strikeouts. They will retire the ball.
With all the circumstances coming up, I got a chance to celebrate with my dad and my brother. And then right after that is when I got that amazing news about the Cardinals.
That amazing news was that after 10 seasons of independent baseball, the then 32-year-old McGovern was going to get his first taste of affiliate ball with the Double-A Springfield Cardinals. Chris Coast called a team meeting where he surprised Kevin.
You know, Chris just opened with, I don't get to do this a lot, but this is the best part a manager could ever have. And I'm like trying to figure out what he's talking about. And he's like, but, guy finally gets a shot after 10 years. And, and he just said St. Louis Cardinals, and he looked right at me. And then he hugged me, and I'm like in shock as I'm getting hugged. And then the entire team just does this huge rally cry. A lot of guys I played against and with on that one team that just looked at me and thought, and I could tell what they were thinking was, finally he gets a shot, maybe I can get one.
McGovern finished the season with Springfield, where he continued to rack up strikeouts at a breathtaking pace. Unfortunately, his contract wasn't renewed by the Cardinals organization this season, but McGovern feels he'll be much better prepared should the opportunity arise again.
The second I got out there, I realized that Double-A was not that different from the American Association. If a team gives me another shot, I have a really strong feeling that I wouldn't just do okay there, but I think I would really succeed and maybe get opportunities to move up.
Kevin McGovern continues to be one of the elite pitchers of the American Association, and his body of work is truly astounding. He owns the league record for strikeouts with over 800, wins with over 60, and innings pitched with over 900, which begs the question, is Kevin McGovern the greatest hurler in the history of the American Association?
I just don't see how you'd be able to say that he's not the greatest of all time just because of what he's already done statistically and the fact that he's put in the amount of time and effort over this decade plus of work.
I mean, if we were talking about Major League Baseball and someone had those numbers, I think we would say it's the greatest pitcher in Major League Baseball.
What he's done, for his team's championships and all those stats, yes, he's the best pitcher that the AAA has ever seen. Eventually someone else will come along, but right now, Gov is kind of like, he's the gold standard right now.
But for all the accolades and records he holds, McGovern is and has always been about team first. The Redhawks have been the top team in the league for most of the season, and the playoffs are about to get underway. The Gov would love to help the Fargo-Moorhead Redhawks win their first title since 2010, when they were members of the Northern League.
I don't want to just be a great American Association pitcher. I want to be a champion, and that would mean a lot to me, especially for Fargo, because Fargo is really came into a really special moment in my life late in my career, and they believed in me, and I really want to reward them, and I think that's the one thing that they want. So hopefully championship is good enough for them.
Yeah, what a really great story Kevin McGovern is. And a special thank you to him and the Fargo Moorhead Redhawks, especially Chad Ekron for all the great footage they provided for the feature story this week. Just a reminder, for everything to do with the American Association, be sure to check out the league's official social media outlets. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next week.